Hello and welcome to SourceCAD. So in this video, we'll make the elevation plan from this floor plan, and we have made this floor plan in the first 3 series of videos. So if you're not familiar with those videos, then click here and you can start from the very first video. So initially there were no plans of making this elevation view, but based on the popular request of the subscribers, I'm now making it. So here also I've made this with as much simplification as possible. So let's get started. So here we have this floor plan and we have the dimensions, text and rest of these objects. So for making the elevation, we actually don't need all of these distractions. We can hide these objects, and if required, we can bring them back later on. Now in this case, I'll use the front elevation. So this will be the elevation which we'll make. And for that, I'll first start by hiding these dimensions and text. And I can simply do that by hiding the layer. So here we have this text layer and the dim layer. Let's click on this light bulb icon here as well as on text. So that will hide both of these objects. Now we can take the reference of these drawings, actually this floor plan, to make the proper lines, and I'll start with this line tool and I'll click on this endpoint and I'll now make a line approximately of this length. Now press enter to repeat the line tool, make it again, press enter again, and now take the reference of this line. So in this case, I'm just taking the reference of these lines. In this case, you can see that I'm taking the reference of this line, which is the endpoint of the door. Okay, and I'll once again make this line of this length, press enter to repeat it, take the reference of this second point here and again make it. So there is a lot of panning and zooming involved in this case, and if you want to keep your line completely vertical, you can also activate the ortho mode. So you can either click here on the ortho mode or you can use the F8 function key to activate it. So I'll go to line again, and now I'll take the reference of this window. Enter, and again this window, and now the reference of this wall, and there we have it. All right, so the vertical lines are done. Let's make a horizontal line. So I'll go to line tool and I'll roughly choose this point and I'll make a horizontal line of this length. Now you can deactivate the ortho mode and let's activate the polar tracking. Now let's get back to this one. Here I'll go to offset tool and I'll now offset it by a distance of 2 fit. So I'll type 2 fit and press enter. So now I'll click on this line and click here. Also, you can actually click on this line and click on this side. So that will be the overhang which we'll make for our drawing. For now, this may not look very clear to you, but in a moment it will automatically become clear to you. So now let's start by offsetting this horizontal line. So I'll go to offset again and I'll enter an offset distance of 1 fit 6 inches. All right, so I'll click on this line and click upwards. Now once again press enter twice and this time change the distance to 2 fit. And I'll click on the same line, click upwards, again press enter twice and this time enter a distance of 11 fit and click on the same line, click upwards, enter twice and then 16 fit. The same line, click upwards, enter twice and then 19 fit 3 inches and the same line and click upwards. So all of these distances are available in the data file which you'll download, and you can see the link in the description for downloading the data file or for downloading the elevation plan with all of these dimensioning. So you can refer to that dimensioning for making this drawing. All right, so we have done up to this much. Let's now move to this part here. So here we have this door, and if you actually go to this, you'll notice that this is the reference of door. So you can see that this is door. Okay, now here I'll add a line. Actually, this is the door and I'll use the midpoint here, but actually we are not able to see the midpoint because we have this complete line, so we need to actually trim it first. So I'll go to trim, enter, trim this line and trim this line. Alright, now we can remove this complete horizontal line because we only need this much of the segment. Now I'll go to line and I can actually make the geometry, but yes, there is one more thing that I need to add here, and that's another line. So now I'll take the reference of this midpoint and I'll add another line. You can keep it like this. So this is the random length which I want actually, and I'll take the reference of this line to make another offset here. So that will be an offset of 8 fit. So I'll go to offset and I'll type 8 fit, and let's click here and click on this side. All right, now we can go to line and let's click on this midpoint and join it with this one. That's it. Now we can remove this line and this line, and if required you can remove this as well, just to keep our drawing clear. Now let's go to trim tool again and let's remove some other lines. So I'll select this one, this complete extra segment. Also this extra segment is not needed, so we can just remove that as well. And if required you can actually remove these lines also, but for now we'll just keep it because we may need to take the reference of that. So for that I'll just keep it here for now. Alright, so now we have done it up to this much. Let's go to offset again. So as you can see that I'm doing a lot of offsets in this case, and you will also need to do that. So now this time I'll enter a distance of 2 fit, click on this horizontal line and click upwards. Now press enter twice, and now once again enter an offset distance of 1 fit. Press enter, click on this and click upwards. Now again I'll select offset. So press enter twice and select 2 inches. This time click on this line and click downwards. Alright, so there we have it. Now let's stretch this line a little bit towards this side and just make sure that it follows the same linear curve and it does not deviate from that linear path. Alright, and then I'll make a single horizontal line just like this. And now I just wanted to touch these 2 lines to touch on this one. For that I'll select extend, press enter and click on these 2 lines. And now select trim, press enter and trim this line. That's no longer needed. And now we can make a mirror image of this segment. So I'll select these 3 segments and I'll also select this line and click on mirror. Now click on this midpoint, actually this end point of this line, and click exactly downwards and press enter. So there we have it. Now we need to actually join these 2 points. For that I'll select fillet. So select fillet and make sure radius is 0. So I'll select radius and I'll change it to 0. If it is not, in this case it is actually 0. So now click on this line and this line, press enter to repeat it again. Click on this line and this line, and you'll notice that it will join it exactly at the end points as we needed. Let's now zoom out and let's trim these extra portions also. So I'll go to trim, press enter and I'll trim it all. That's also not needed. Actually we also don't need this extra part here, and we don't need this extra part here. So carefully remove the lines only which I am removing, not any other line. Alright, so this is what we have now. Let's now remove this line as well. That will also be not required. Okay, let's start by adding the poles, and to do that I'll actually start by adding a pole here. Okay, so for that I'll go to line tool, and obviously in this case you may need to take the distance precisely, but now just to keep drawing simple I'm using a random distance in this case. So I'll just select a distance from this point, any particular distance, maybe somewhere close to, let's say 3 feet. Okay, that seems appropriate. So I'll just click here and I'll just make it of this length. So I'll click here so that this line can be made, and then I'll go to offset and 1 foot as the offset distance. Click on this one and click here. Alright, now let's go to rectangle and let's make a small rectangle here. So I'll take the reference of this point, I'll make a rectangle just like this. Again, you can see that this is a random one, not a very selective kind of dimension. Now I'll move it, select this point, and I'll move it exactly on the center like this, so that it is properly placed right at the center of this pillar. Now you can repeat this process and you can just copy it actually. So I'll go to copy tool, I'll copy it over here and I'll copy it over here. Okay, so there we have it. Now you can trim it. So let's trim the extra part. So I'll go to trim, press enter, and I'll trim these two portions. I'll actually trim this also, and I'll trim from here as well. Now you can trim this part also, that's also not required, and this part also from your drawing. Let's now add another detail here. So I'll go to offset again, and now I'll add an offset distance of 2 fit. So I'll type 2 fit, press enter, and let's click on this one and click upwards. Let's now go to trim again, press enter, and let's trim the part of drawing which is not needed. So I'll just trim this line which we just made here, but I'll trim it only up to that much, and I'll click here and I'll trim it like this. Now you can remove this line, this extra line is not needed. Okay. All right, so that's almost done. Let's now make a mirror image of this one on this side as well. And to make the mirror image, I'll take the center point here. So I'll select this complete pillar, just this pillar, select the mirror tool and click on this midpoint, and I'll click exactly upwards. So that will make a mirror image like this. Okay, so now you can see that our drawing is beginning to take shape. Now we can add our door, and for adding the door actually I'll use once again the offset tool. So I'll go to offset and I'll select an offset distance of 2 fit. Select this line and click downwards, so that will make this offset. Now we actually need to trim extra portions from this drawing, and to do that I'll select the trim tool here. Let's press enter and let's trim this part, this part, this part, and this part. That's all we don't need. I'll now select these two lines, this line and this line. So these are the 4 lines that are now not at all needed. So I'll just erase them. Okay, so now we have a fairly clean drawing, and you can see that this line is going way beyond this direction. So actually we don't need that as well. So I'll go to trim, press enter, and I'll just trim it from this point. So from here as well as from here. And now we can actually remove these 2 lines. Okay, so now we have a fairly clean drawing. Let's add the details, and for that I'll go to offset tool again and offset a distance of 6 inches. Click on this one and offset inside, and offset inside. Repeat this process again, offset inside, inside, and inside. All right, now I'll go to fillet, and again I'll make sure radius is 0, press enter, and now I'll actually remove these extra lines here. So I'll click on these 2, and you can see now that this is merging properly. So I'll again do this for this one as well. I'll press enter and I'll repeat the process for these 2 lines and repeat it for these 2 as well. So instead of trimming, I've actually selected fillet tool to make it a lot easier. Let's go to line and add a line here, and let's repeat the process and add a line here. All right. Okay, so we have made this door. Now let's add some details. So I'll go to line tool and I'll make a completely straight line right from the center like this. And here again I'll make an offset. So I'll go to offset, and the offset distance is obviously 6 inches. Offset it towards the left and towards right. Now we can actually remove this line, and we can also trim this part. So trim and this part. So you can see that I'm adding actually a lot of details here. that you can do, or if you want to have less detail here, you can do that as well. So now go to line and add a straight line like this, press enter twice, add a line here, enter twice, and I'll make a horizontal line right from this random distance somewhere over here, and I'll now make a copy of this. So I'll go to copy and I'll make it copy up to maybe this point, and I'll now copy these two lines, copy them to this side as well. Okay, so there we have it. And now let's go to hatch tool. So I'll go to hatch and I'll add a solid hatch pattern. So this is the pattern which I'm going to select, solid. Also you can keep this option associative checked or unchecked depending upon your requirement. I'll just keep it checked for now, and I'll click on this area and close hatch creation. So a door is almost prepared. Let's now clean this part of the drawing. So I'll go to trim, press enter, and let's clean this one. All right, so that's now properly cleaned. We have this clean drawing here up to this point, and now we can add the final details to this drawing. And before doing that, actually I just prefer to keep my drawing clean, so I'll remove all the unnecessary details from this drawing that are not required. So I'll go to trim, and let's trim these extra lines. They are actually no longer needed, and we also don't need this one. We actually need these two lines for windows as of now, so let's keep them here, and this will be the line which we'll use for our pillar. And obviously this is the end, so this can be removed for now. All right, so let's now add the pillars. So I'll go to this pillar, I'll select it all like this. I'll go to copy, and let's make a copy, and let's paste it somewhere over here like this. Again, in this, just make sure that this line falls exactly on this, although that is not needed, but just for the sake of simplicity, I'll just try to keep it that way, and I'll just place it like this. All right, now we can remove this line. This is no longer needed. And let's make another copy, and this time I'll select this one for copying it, and I'll go to this center point, or the midpoint actually, and I'll paste it here. And again, actually you can paste it anywhere, but again we'll follow the same process. Select it, select the move tool, and drag this point, and I'll just paste it here. All right, now we can remove this line as well, and obviously this line is also no longer needed, so we can just remove it. Okay, so now we have this. We only need to add the windows, and to add the window I'll add the reference line. So I'll go to line, and I'll make a reference line taking the reference of our door here. And for the window I'll use design center. So press Ctrl 2, and that will open the design center palette, and we'll actually use our drawing from this design center palette. And you can just see that I have a folder pretty much open here, and I'm going to use this one. But if you are not able to see this, then click on home, and that's what you are going to get. So now go to ENUS, design center, and select house designer and blocks. So there you'll find these kind of blocks. I'm going to select this window wooden frame. So let's select and drag it out like this. So you have to only drag and drop it. Now select it. This is a block. Click on move. Click on this endpoint and move it here like this. Now we need to make a mirror image. So select it. Select mirror. Click on these 2 points, and we have the mirror image. And now we can actually remove these reference lines. They are no longer needed. So we now have our window.